Okay, we're here with Billy Mack today, retired firefighter and altruistic community champion. Now, welcome, Billy.
Good morning. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been in the armed forces,
Yes.
firefighter,
Yes.
you're also medic,
Yes.
you're a fundraiser,
Yes.
rugby union coach, avid photographer, and airshow aficionado.
Yes. Love air shows. Fast jets. Love it. And the old planes. B-51 Mustang.
Can you fly an aeroplane?
No, I wish I could. That was my dream as a kid. My
Right.
dream as a kid was to be a pilot. And then an astronaut. Like everyone wants to go to the moon. Yeah, never got there, but still love them. Still love. So I go up to Williamtown probably once every 6 weeks, 2 months, just sit in the cafe and watch planes take off.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good day out. 58 years old and I'm still 10.
Okay, today's talk is going to be centered around men's mental health, which is something that's very important to you.
Extremely important to me. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the jobs you've had and how they've shaped where you are now with men's mental health.
Yep.
So you were in the army.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was an assault pioneer. I was in the mortars for a while, which was good fun. Just blowing things up from a long way away.
Mm.
And then I transferred in the assault pioneers, which is basically a combat engineer, but engineers don't like me saying that because they think they're better than us, but they're not. Without us, they've got nothing. And it's funny, when I transferred in, my mum's like, "What do you do now?" I said, "Oh, assault pioneers. We go in and if there's a bridge we need to build, we build a bridge. Out of whatever we got around us, trees, whatever's there." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And I said, "If there's already a bridge there, we blow it up." Well, her eyes were like two saucers. Her eyes opened up wide. I went, "What's the matter?" She went, "They're going to let you use explosives." I went, "Well, yeah." I said, "What's the problem?" She goes, "Well, every cracker night around here, there was never a letterbox left standing because you'd blow them up." I'm like, "No, I never did that, Mum." So I used to get all the pretty fireworks and break them down and make little bombs out of them and blow people's letterboxes up. Don't do that, kids. It's not. They shouldn't do that. We don't have crackers anymore. Maybe that's why.
Did you go overseas and?
Mate, you know what? I'm lucky. I never deployed, and it's funny because young blokes go, "Oh, did you go to war?" No, mate. I'm lucky.
Mm.
It's funny. You train for it, and you're ready for it. But and I wanted to go. It's like, yeah, let's go. But now, in hindsight, I know a lot of veterans who deployed, and I'm glad I didn't.
Mm.
Because I went through enough trauma being a fiery. Then, imagine going through, because I know there's a lot of guys that are in the fire brigade now that have deployed. When I first joined, we had a lot of Vietnam vets. And now there's a lot of Iraq vets and Afghan vets in the job. So dealing with seeing your mates getting blown away, having that trauma, and then coming into a job where you're going to get more trauma, my hat's off to them. But I'm lucky. Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't deploy. I fought the Battle of Singleton a lot, Canungra, Shoal Bay. Apparently
I've been to Canungra.
Yeah. It's funny when you're at Canungra, everyone's like, "What are we doing here? This is a shit." Because I was there one time for about 3 weeks. It was raining the whole time.
Mm.
Our man pits, which you sit in for waiting, they were full of water. We were sitting in water. Lucky it was 40 degrees. So, yeah, Canungra. It's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't go. I wouldn't want to be back there now.
Were there any women in?
There was back then. I mean, there wasn't many. No, there wasn't many. There was some. Never in a combat unit. They weren't back then. You weren't allowed to have females in combat units.
Do they now?
They do now, yeah. And I think it's good. Like, some people are like, "Oh, how will they be in the face of fire?" Well, you know what? How will a guy be in the face of fire? As I said, I never went to combat, so I'm extremely lucky. But as a fiery, I've seen guys in the fire brigade that shit themselves. Will they just swear? Is that all right?
Mm.
Poop themselves?
Yeah. You're fine.
I see guys, and I've been left alone in fires by blokes because they got scared and left. I'm like, this is your job. So to say that a female wouldn't be able to...
How long did they last?
They're still in. Some of them are still in.
Mm.
Yeah, usually in any paramilitary or military organization, when they find someone is incompetent, they promote them.
Get them out of the way.
Yes, put them where they can't cause much problems, much danger.
That happens everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If you're really good at your job, they don't promote you.
No, you stay where you are.
Yeah.
No, but look, I think it's good. A female fighter pilot. Why can't she be a fighter pilot? What it's like it's flying a plane. It's there's no strength. No real strength involved in that.
Did you transition from the army to firefighting?
No. I left and then joined the fire brigade. Yeah, that was 1990.
What made you?
You know what?
To do that.
My uncle was a fiery, and he's always like, "Mate, you should have a crack at the fire brigade. It's a career for life." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, yeah." And then when it came up, I went, I'd applied, and 9,000 people applied when I applied, and they needed 150 fireys, and I got in.
Wow.
I was pretty stoked. It's like winning the lottery, and I had a lot of blokes going, "Oh, mate,
why were there so many?"
There's always thousands apply. I mean, the minimum that apply to get in every year is about 5,000.
But why? What makes it attractive?
It's just who doesn't want to kick indoors? Who doesn't want to break things and not have to pay for them? It was just it's funny because as you know, I've been to 1,000 psychologists with my PTSD, and sorry, it's not PTSD, it's PTS. It's not a disorder, it's an injury. And one guy said to me, he goes, "Mate, just looking at your history, your army and explosives and I think you're an adrenaline junkie." I said, "Mate, you're a genius." Like, really? It took you how long to work that out? Of course I'm an adrenaline junkie. And it's just, the adrenaline of being a fiery.
So you gravitated to the army and firefighting.
I think the army more because my grandfather was a rat at Tobruk. And military's right through my family. Like my great-grandfather was a Posy air survivor. My grandfather was a rat at Tobruk. My uncle went to Vietnam. My niece is in the Navy now. And I was in the army, so it's in
the genes.
Yeah, it is. People go, "Oh, it's a sense of duty," and it wasn't really a sense of duty. It's just like that's my part. I think more than anything, I wanted a slouch hat, and I still got it.
I'm not sure about that when you say it's adrenaline because the other things you do, are of service to the community.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, I suppose. Yeah, like. Maybe those things that are to balance it, I guess. I get adrenaline at rugby. I know I do. When the boys are playing, I'm like, as I told you, I manage Eastwood Colts, and I'll sit up in the stand. I can feel the adrenaline. I know that I'm pumped.
Did you ever play?
Yeah. I played, as I said, I played Colts at Randwick 100 years ago, and then I just played subbies. I played at school. Played right through school. Matchville High School, for those legends out there that went to Maddo. We all know you don't with the Maddo boys. And then I was training one time and I was running past the Coogee Bay Hotel and I heard someone screamed out, "Billy Mack!" And I looked in the pub and there's a heap of my mates from school sitting in the bar, in the garden bar drinking. I'm like, what's going on here? So finished training, I ran over afterwards. So, "What are you blokes doing?" So, "I was having a drink after the train." I said, "Who are you playing for?" They said, "I was playing subbies for Waverley." I was like, "Okay, what nights are you training?" They said, "We're doing it right now." Drinking Schooners was training. I went, "That's me." So yeah, I went and played subbies for them and just I played till I was I think I played till I joined the fire brigade. So I was 25, 24, right. 25. I still actually played for the fire brigade. My wife didn't know that. Well, she found out eventually. Because she was like, "You shouldn't be playing footy anymore because you get hurt." I'm like, "Yeah, righto." And of course,
Did you get hurt?
Oh, I never got. Nah, well, funnily enough, I worked when I had COVID. I was getting pains in my neck and pains down my left arm because apparently COVID attacks old injuries, and they sent me for scans, and the surgeon had a look at scan, the MRI scan. He goes, so mate, when do you remember when you broke those 2 vertebrae in your neck? And I went, what?
Mm.
And he said, you've got 2 broken vertebrae in your neck from the calcification it was about 30 years ago. And I went, so mate, I don't remember. I didn't. And he goes, okay, but I did hurt my neck playing.
Mm.
The club doctor had a look and he goes, mate, I'm going to send you to a mate of mine who's a chiropractor who was actually a mate of mine as well. And he said, mate, I'm going to send you to him to get him to have a look. And he's had a look. He didn't do any manipulation, which is lucky. He did pressure point stuff just to relieve the pressure and because they thought it was a pinched nerve. Turns out 30 years later, I find out I fractured my vertebrae in my neck.
You're very lucky. Was it COVID that caused?
That caused me to the pain. Yeah, it wasn't pain. It was just tingling in my arm.
Yeah.
And they
was that before or after you took the vaccines?
It was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's another story. We can get into that, but
What happened there?
Oh, look, the vaccine. I didn't want it.
I think a lot of people didn't want it.
I didn't want it.
But they were pretty much coerced.
Yeah, they were. And the funny thing is,
frightened into.
Well, yeah, other people going, oh, well, I'm having it so I can go to the pub. Okay.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, my boss, who I work for now, and absolute champion bloke, Adrian Date, and I'll give his company a plug, Vital First Aid Training Services for all your training needs. He was an ex-paramedic and he got vaxxed. He was, I'm getting it. But he said to us, it's up to you. Like, you can do it, you can not do it. But other places, they were telling people, if you don't get vaccinated, you don't work for me.
Yeah, you lose your job.
Oh, it was ridiculous. And the only thing was that if we weren't vaccinated, we couldn't go to retirement villages because we do a lot of training everywhere. We go everywhere. Retirement villages and schools and all that sort of stuff. And it come to the point where, because teaching first aid, like I do it once a month, once a fortnight, once a week. Whenever I'm, the ladies will message me, can you work this day? And if I can, I do. If I can't, and I'm usually booked in months in advance. And it came to the point where there was a few coming up for retirement villages and there wasn't really much going on except for going to them. And I was like, I really need this teaching for my mental health because it's really good to engage with the public, and so I relented and my GP's like, all right, well, I want you to have this one because I'm Indigenous heritage. I was over 50 and I get bronchitis. If I get a chest cold, I can end up with bronchitis. So he said, I want you to have this one. And look, begrudgingly had it. And luckily for me, I've had no ill effects.
No issues with that.
I know.
Where others have.
Oh, look, I was talking to a lady the other day, her husband, 31 years old, one shot, and he ended up with that myocarditis, whatever it is.
Yeah, we were a huge, vaccine study where they were just trying out.
Just testing,
that's it. Yeah, on everyone and seeing what the outcome was.
And
you're lucky if you got a good one.
That's it. I'm lucky.
Luck if you had adverse reactions to it.
I mean, how many people died of heart attacks in their 50s?
It's still going on.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? And the people listening to this right now going, oh, conspiracy. No, I'm not. I'm looking at evidence. And
there's a lot of it coming out now, but there's still a lot of people that don't want to know.
No.
And who could blame them because
it's
during
scary.
that time you were scared into doing something you didn't really think about.
No.
And all the evidence is coming to light now, but not many people want to know. And why would you?
No, that's it. You know what? It happened.
Yeah.
Move on.
It was that was the scariest time for me in my life.
Yeah.
I went shopping at Woolies one day and they were packing shelves and I said, is there a restriction on flour? Tiny bags of flour.
Yeah.
And she said, no, there isn't. The shelves were pretty empty. So I took 4.
Yeah.
As I started to walk to check out, one of the managers, and this is Umina Woolworths.
Yep.
Lady with a big nose and bob haircut, turned around and screamed loudly at me, you can't take 4. That's too many. You're only allowed 2.
What?
And I didn't tell her that I'd asked one of the workers because I didn't want to get them in trouble.
Yeah.
Suddenly I was surrounded by a mob.
Of people.
around me yelling at me and telling me that you can't do that. People need to feed their families, blah blah, and all this sort of thing. And I was buying it because I had a business to run.
Yeah.
And the stupid thing about this was you only allowed 2 of anything, correct?
Yeah.
So if I'd been there earlier, I could have gotten or purchased 2 5-kilo bags of flour.
Yes.
Instead of 2
1 kilo
1
ones.
kilo bags of flour.
And that would have been okay.
They weren't even 1 kilo. They were 500 grams or something, really tiny bags.
Yeah. That would have been okay.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I got screamed at, yelled by these people. It was mob.
You know what? I said to someone once, it divided people more than politics.
Mm.
You get people, I'm Labor, I'm Liberal. It divided people down even, didn't matter. It was sad. I know families that still aren't talking to each other.
Yeah, it really brought home to me how quickly we could turn on each other.
100%.
A little bit of fear,
a
little bit somebody pulling the strings, and people would be ready to kill you.
Yeah, and it was, you know what, something I will still, someone can tell me now and I would still shake my head and go, I still don't get it.
Mm.
The toilet paper thing. What the hell was that all about?
Yeah,
COVID didn't cause diarrhea.
No.
Like, so what?
Was it mob mentality? Just an idea, like when things go viral on Instagram or on
Facebook,
social media, and you don't know why. It just seems to build a momentum, and then it snowballs, and you've got an avalanche.
Yep.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Just because.
And you talk to people and they'd be like, "Man, this is weird."
Mm.
And I go, I don't understand people. Me neither. But I grabbed 2 bags the other day just in case. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're contributing to it.
Yeah. I remember I went to Coles at Kincumber, and I walked in. There was none. I went, oh, okay. And the manager went, like it was a manager guy, went, mate, there's a pallet out the back. We're just about to bring it out if you want some. I said, oh, thanks, mate. I'll just stand here. He said, just stand there. He said, because once it comes out, you're going to get, I said, okay. So one came out, and funnily enough, he had one in his hand.
Yeah.
Because I just came in and asked. People were coming in and attacking him. Where's the toilet paper? Whoa.
Yeah.
I just went, oh, excuse me, mate. Real polite. And so he handed me a 12-pack. I went, oh, thanks, mate. No. He goes, yeah, no, all good. And he said, listen, there's paper towel around the corner too if you need. I went, funnily enough, I do.
Yeah.
So he walked me around to show me where it was with this other lady. As soon as we got near it, she ran for it like she was running for gold. And he's going, don't run. She's grabbed one for me as well. She goes, there you go. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is just pandemonium. It's just madness. But the best thing was there was still heaps of ice cream.
Yeah. That was a crazy time. It's a mad time. But I know for certainty that if it were to happen again, it would happen exactly the same way.
You know what? I think it would happen the same way, but I think majority of us would be shove it up your ass. I'm not locking down.
I hope that's what they do. I hope that's what they do. But
at the time,
I have no faith in the majority anymore. And the majority were calling those who wanted to question things conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, and sheep.
Yeah.
When there were few that were questioning, and they were the actual sheep.
No, we weren't the ones. And that's the thing. I had someone say to me, "Oh, you're an anti-vaxxer." Okay, I've had 2 shots, so how can I? Well, then why are you talking against it? I said, because nobody knows. Even our doctor said we won't know for 10 years.
But there's a differentiation between being an anti-vaxxer,
yes,
and an anti-COVID,
yes,
vaccination.
And just
I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
No.
But people called me an anti-vaxxer. I'm not.
No.
I mean, I've grown up with measles, TB, things like that.
And the thing is, with measles and mumps and that, what did your mum do when someone got it? You raced over to the house so you could get it. That's what we did. But that's it. Being attacked as an anti-vaxxer when you are vaxxed and you're not, you're just. That's the thing I always say to people. They say, "Oh, any advice you'd give to fireys? Yeah, question everything."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can take the vaccine. There were people who took the vaccines, but still questioned.
And that's me.
And that's okay. You should be questioning.
Yes.
And people were telling me, one man in particular said to me, the government wouldn't give us these vaccines, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and this was a customer I had at the cafe who would always come in and complain about the government
Yeah.
prior to COVID. And I said, when did you start believing everything that
Yeah.
all of a sudden that the government said? And not only that, for me, they broke that is it final wall
Mm.
of having control, agency over your body.
Yes. Yes.
That was pretty amazing to me, because I always thought
That we could decide what we're going to take.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. I think it's abhorrent that some schools say, well, you can't send your child to our school if they're not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's the kid that's not vaccinated that's going to get sick.
That's what I try to explain to
Yeah.
people who had the COVID vaccine. What do you care?
Exactly.
You're okay.
Exactly. Well, this is what I said.
But they kept saying, but we'll catch it from eating. Why? You're vaccinated.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The logic was.
They didn't have any logic.
Yeah.
So I have coffee every week with fireys, and there was one going, oh mate, but if you're not, I said I'm vaccinated. Well, mate, we can't have people who know. So why can't we have people who aren't vaccinated sitting next to us? Well, they could give it to us. But how can they give it to us when we're vaccinated?
Vaccinated, yeah.
And I said, at the end of the day, I can still carry COVID even though I'm vaccinated.
Yeah, you'd give it to the one that's not vaccinated.
Exactly.
So what do you care?
Well, this guy says to me, let me put it in terms you might understand. I said, why don't you call me up an idiot? Oh, no. He said, if you're in a fire, he said, I know you're in the army. I said, yeah. He said, you're in a firefighter. I went, yeah. He said, you've got all full protection, body armor, everything like that. I went, yeah. He said, there's a guy next to you in the same firefight and he's not wearing any body protection. How would you feel? I said, I'd feel I'm in a firefight and I've got to protect myself. And yeah, but he's not protected. I went, yeah, but that's him.
Yeah.
He's the one that's going to get hurt, not me. He went, okay, what if he gets shot? I said, well, then he's going to die or he's going to be wounded. He goes, and you're going to have to take care of him. I said, even if he was wearing body armor, he can still get wounded. And he went, what? But
yeah.
And then he came back with, well, they're just going to fill the hospitals. Oh, that's your argument, is it? It's not an argument. It's just clutching at straws. It was a weird time.
Yeah, because I've also heard firsthand from someone how empty it was in emergency.
Yeah, it was. I ended up in hospital. What happened? Something happened. I had low blood pressure. Boom, collapsed at home, and ended up in hospital. I was it was like, it remember E.T.?
Yeah.
When they had all the plastic tubes and all that. That's what I was in. I was in a room that had plastic bubble walls as well, like surrounding the room. And when they had to come in and see me, so I'm in this isolation room. They had to go into a door from where I could see them go in a door. They'd suit up completely like in a hazmat suit, come in, do my vital signs, go back out, take everything off. I'm like, what the hell? And they're going, oh, we don't know if you got COVID or not. I'm like, I was in the cardiac ward because I had an abnormal heart rhythm, which turned out that because I've got a chest like a Tibetan yak covered in hair, it wasn't sticking on properly. So that was what the heart thing was. It was nothing to do with my heart. It just wasn't a proper reading. Eventually, I was in there for like 6 hours and blood tests and, sticking that stick up the nose. And the surgeon came in who had done an angiogram on me about 5 years before. I saw him coming in and I looked and he's walked straight in. I went, Jim, what are you doing? And he goes, mate, you're clear. I went, oh, Jesus. So there's 6 hours of people gowning up and face masks. And even one of the guys came in, he was an Irish nurse. And I said, mate, what is this shit? He goes, that's just shit we have to do. I know, it's fucking crap. Anyway.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But it was it was a weird time. But you know what? The traveling thing, you can't go more than, I was traveling everywhere. 5
kilometres.
I didn't care. You know what? I was, my niece was living at Heathcote and I was living with her for a while because at the time, things were going bad at home and I was not living at home because of my PTSD. And I was just dry. I said, you know what? And I still had therapy up here at Berkeley Vale Private. So I was just driving around and the psychiatrist said to me, mate, I'm going to give you a letter. I'm just going to give you a letter saying this is William McLean. He's been in hospital for post-traumatic stress, firefighter, blah, blah, blah. So if you get pulled over, show him it. I said, yeah, no worries. I never got pulled over.
I didn't either. I had to get things for my shop.
Yeah.
which
Well,
is,
that's-
5 kilometers, more than 5 Ks.
Yeah.
And I just did and never stopped or anything like that. So,
You know what else we found out? Like you said, we found the stupidity of the world. People driving in their own car wearing a face mask. No one else in the car. I'm like, what are you doing?
you could get it from the car.
Yes. I mean, I could have got an exemption. My GP said to me, I can give you a face mask exemption because of bronchitis, because if I'm breathing my own air in,
Yeah.
it can exacerbate my bronchitis, and I end up with a chest infection. I said, mate, at the end of the day, I'd rather deal with that than deal with people going, why are you not wearing a mask? Because I'll just give them a gobful. I wouldn't go, well, actually, I have an exemption. I'd go, why don't you go yourself? I wouldn't.
Yeah, it was that scaremongering.
Yeah, and people.
And it gave normal people, just ordinary people,
Yep.
power.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, I was in the cafe one time.
Yep.
We were doing all the right things. Nobody was sitting, spaces to stand marked out. This young woman, walks in, looks around, and she wasn't the first, and says, all right, you're doing the right thing. Good. Judging. And
Yeah.
then she said, that woman down the road in another cafe, they had people sitting there, and that woman said, they're doing it because you're doing it. And
so she was being the COVID police.
we had a few COVID police, people just walking in and judging and swearing if we had too many people inside. There weren't too many. They were spaced out. It just
Yeah.
looked that way if you look from a certain
Angle.
from
Yeah.
outside.
And with crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Like
So there was a lot of that. And it makes you think about Germany, Hitler's Germany.
yes.
It takes you straight there.
Absolutely. We have our coffee down at the cafe at Yamina. That's where we go. John, legend, owns the joint, absolute champion bloke. We actually call ourselves the Knights of the Coffee Table, and it's all ex-fireys, but we've adopted.
So where do you go? Let's give him a plug.
The Yamina Beach Cafe, John
Yamina
Treble,
Beach Cafe.
absolute legend.
Okay.
And it's all fireys, and we've got jerseys made up with Knights of. I'm getting emotional about it because he's such a good support for anyone. So him and I take the piss out of each other all the time. It's like, I'll go leave the customers alone. He goes, shut up, you get out of my. It's just a really good relationship. But we've adopted him into the Knights of the Coffee Table. We got him a jersey, and you only get one if you're a fiery.
Just one.
Yeah, this jersey that we've got, you've got to be a fiery.
But he's not a fiery.
He's not a fiery. No. But
do you guys get together because of the things you experienced?
mainly, yeah. But we, you know what, we don't. I don't allow negativity there anymore. If there was people going, I'd be like, you know what? You say to someone, how you going? They go, well, mate, it's a rhetorical question. I really don't care. I mean, you do care.
Let's talk about your. I'm saying PTSD because I don't know the other acronym.
Yeah, it's the thing is that's it. It's PTSD. That's what it's known as, but it's actually not a disorder.
Yeah.
Which they've found since, but because the professors who are older than Yoda haven't made the decision to drop the D and just call it post-traumatic stress,
Right.
it's still called PTSD. That's still what it's known as. So I'll say it sometimes as well.
Yeah.
But it's most of us that are there have PTSD. It's
So you don't actually discuss it when you're.
no. It's just
Do you ever?
yeah, of course. Yeah, a mate of mine. I did another podcast with a young bloke I've known for his whole life. And a mate of mine sent me a message saying, hey, mate, thanks for that. And I'm like, thanks for what? I don't know what he was talking about. And I called him. And he said, mate, I was listening to you and it was me talking. All the stuff you were saying was me talking. And it really resonated. So, we were going to have a coffee tomorrow and he's got his grandkids. Which I'm smiling because, take your grandkids out. And I said, make sure you film with red frogs before you drop them home. Parents love it when kids have red frogs. And we're going to catch up Monday just because he just wants to talk about the stuff. And it's fine. The thing is, if you don't, what I've found is talking about it more for me helps me. And I tell people that some people don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Just leave it. And I won't force anyone to talk about it. I'll just say to them, in my experience, I've found talking about it has helped me get through it better.
You told me a while ago about how you discovered that you had, because I don't know the acronym PTSD.
Yep.
Could you tell the listeners out there how you discovered that?
Well, I didn't, because the Nile's a river in Africa. I didn't have it. My wife kept saying to me, something's wrong. I'm like, you know what you're talking about. She goes, no, I think, and she never said PTSD at the time, but I think that's what, because I call Kathy Dr. Google, and that's, our GP even calls her Dr. Google. I've since now know why I call her Dr. Google, because I said she's got no effing patience, but especially with me. But she kept saying something's wrong. No, I'm okay. Eventually, I said to my GP, Kathy thinks there's something wrong, and he goes, well, look, tell me what. Like, I was getting road rage, instant road rage if someone cut me off, anything like that, and it wouldn't be just like a you dickhead. It'd be 0 to 100. It'd be like going from a firecracker to a thermonuclear bomb in an instant. And and she's like, what are you carrying? This, I'd be just flying off the handle. And then, and then her and I would be fighting because she's telling me to calm down. I'm not. And for a long time, she said, so I told my GP, and he goes, look, if you don't want to go to a psychologist, I was like, nah, mate, I'm not. Because to me, going to a psychologist was admitting that I had a problem. He said, look, I've got a guy that's a counsellor. He's not a psychologist. He's just a counsellor. You go and you talk to him. You go to his house. You talk to him, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah. So I went home and spoke to Kath. She's like, I think it's a good idea. I went, yeah, okay. All right. So I did. And look, it was good. We basically just chatted. He was an Irishman, funny guy, and he loved rugby as well. So we'd chat about rugby, which was good because I was just talking to someone who I didn't know. Eventually I got to know him, but someone outside my close group of family and friends that I could tell stuff to and not feel that I was going to be judged. That's how you feel. You feel when you start to realize, okay, maybe there is something wrong, you feel if I tell someone, I'm going to be judged. They're going to, especially in the fire brigade, we're 6 foot, as you know, I'm 6'3", I'm bulletproof. I'm an ex-soldier. I'm a fiery. I'm not meant to be hurt. I'm meant to protect people from being hurt. So eventually, my doctor said to me, I think you've got PTSD. And I'm like, mate, don't tell me that. And he said, look, and he went through the symptoms and he went through the traumas that I'd had, and I'd been through. And it really got exacerbated after my mum passed away, which I've since found that, all this traumatic stuff takes something to really scrape the wound and scrape the scab off the wound. And my mum passing away was what made me go, because so I joined in 1990, mum passed away in 2000. So 10 years of trauma, that sort of scraped the scab off the wound, for want of a better analogy. And so that was 2001, I think. I went and started having some counselling, and again, no, I don't have PTSD. No, and my GP said it to me, as I said, 2003, and I went, no, it's not. So he goes, look, just who's your health services person? We had a lady named Di Kozak, who's since passed away, who is an absolute champion for fireys. Her whole, she's part of the return to work section. Her whole ethos was the fiery comes first.
Were these traumas in you being a fiery?
Yeah.
Was that where all this stemmed from?
Yeah, it all stems from that.
So is there better emotional support now for
there
fireys?
is. Look, I was talking to a guy the other day and he said there's not anymore. I know there is. And the old commissioner, Greg Mullen, said a lot of it was because of me putting my hand up and saying, hey, finally put my hand up and said, yeah, okay, I've got a problem, I need help. Again, that still was only within a small group of people.
How did you cope with a traumatic event? And what did these traumatic events look like when you were fiery?
Well, the first one I ever went to that was truly traumatic was a MVA, a motor vehicle accident. It was on Burke Road at Alexandria, right around the corner from the station. I was stationed in Alexandria, the old 13 station. Hello, boys and girls. And we were in bed. We were reclining, because you don't sleep, you recline. And we heard the smash. It was probably about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you heard, that's how loud it was. It was probably half a K, from the station, maybe a bit further, and buildings in between. But it was a massive bang. It was like, holy shit. So within minutes, the bells went off. And back then, there were bells. And the bells were like straight away, and you jumped like a cat, scared the shit out of you. Now they get woken up slowly, which is a lot better for your heart. Bells went off, MBA, person's trapped, Burke Road, Alexandria. Went, yeah, we know where it is. Went around, we just turned out on the Wyndham Road, turned right into Burke Road, and there it was. And it was a Volvo into a telegraph pole, sideways. Two of the kids were dead. One of them was out on the road, a girl. We brought her. She died. We brought her back. She died. We brought her back. And I can still see it now. And I'm good now. I've dealt with it. But her face changed colour 3-4 times. When we bring her back and then she died, and then we bring her back and then she died. Paramedics got there, same thing. We're still working on her. Took her away, and back then a friend of mine worked at Redfern Police Station. I called her and said, "Look, do you know how that girl went?" She said, "Oh, she died, Billy." I never did that again. After that, I just didn't want to know, because all the work we did to get her back.
Yeah.
We went back feeling pretty good. I mean, we were pretty shattered that the other two were dead already, but we're pretty good. We got that girl back. How good's that? The paramedics took her away. They're taking her to the hospital. Hopefully she'll be fine. And I called up to find out. When I found out, so I never did that again. I never followed up anything after that. I just didn't want to know. Once the person was in the back of an ambulance, that was it.
Is it these little, I wouldn't call them little, is it these experiences over time that cause...
Yeah, 100%. So mine was accumulated
when you come across that the first time, you think you're fine.
Yeah. And even the second time, the third time. And just going back to how we dealt with it, the way we dealt with it is the next morning. So we finish at 8 o'clock. The oncoming shift usually comes in at 7. You change shift early, and you might hang around, have a cup of tea with them, or you might go. And one of the older guys, he was, at the time I was 25, and one of the older guys goes, we're going to have a chat, debrief, big fella. Okay. We never spoke about debriefs ever. At the training college, it was never ever spoken about. Now in the army, there's debriefs when you go to not just for combat, but you do a patrol. You come back and you do a debrief. Okay, what did you see? What did you find? Blah 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 blah. Never any debriefs in the fire brigade back then. And one of the guys who was ex-army, Vietnam vet, he said, "We're going to have a debrief, big fellow." And okay, the debrief was at the Zetland Hotel. We had breakfast and 4 schooners. That was the debrief. We never spoke.
Oh, you didn't speak.
Still to this day, 30, what is it? What are we in 2020? 35 years later.
Is it to do with a very masculine thing of holding it in?
You don't want people to know it's affected you. You don't want them to know. And as I say, because if you do show that it's affected you, it's a weakness.
Yeah.
Now,
or it may bring into question you doing your job.
Yeah. Are you still able to do this job or not?
Yeah.
The ironic thing is, as I got, longer into my career, I was and so even after I finally, so 2003 I was diagnosed. They said, you have PTSD. Di Kozak said, listen, we'll pay everything. But if you put in a workers' comp claim, then everything's paid for. You don't have to worry about paying for anything. I went, no, not doing it. She was such a champion, this lady. She's like, eventually she'd swear at me, listen, you an idiot. This is for you. And I'm like, nah, Di, look, just let me do it my way. So I would send all the bills to her for my medications or anything. If I had to go to a psychologist, all the bills went to her and she'd pay it out. The fire brigade would pay it, not the workers' comp. And that's how it went on for 2 years. Finally, in 2005, speaking to her and Kathy, another mate of mine, Mark Black, and Greg Mullins, who was the commissioner. He's a great mate of mine. And hello, Gollywog. That's what we used to call him. Finally said, look, I'll put in a claim. And my GP was stoked. From then on, the help has not stopped. And there'll be people out there, fireys out there going, EML, who's our Employers Mutual Limited, who's the insurer. Well, they're the manager of the fire brigade's workers' comp. The ICARE, who's the government body, they're the ones who run it. But EML manage it, and I have not had anything but help from them. Anything I needed, I'd call them and say, oh, blah blah blah. Even things that might be experimental, like, hey, someone said if I go swimming at Misfield, okay, we'll pay for your gym membership. We'll pay for your
That's a very positive story, especially
The,
back then when
well,
people weren't really
EML's only been
concerned about mental health
no, they
as
weren't.
much.
EML invest in mental health now. Mark Coyne is the CEO who played rugby league for Queensland, which is very sad because Queenslanders and New South Walesmen, we know we're better. Really good guy, really good guy. First time I met him, they said, "Oh, Billy, this is Mark," and I just stood there. I wouldn't put my hand out, and everyone's going, "Oh no," because he's the boss of the insurance company, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, mate." I said, that try he scored in the State of Origin. He went, "You won the series." But really good guy. But yeah, so
when you were a fiery,
yeah,
did you recognise trauma in the other people around you?
that's what I was saying before.
Did you each see that in each other?
No one saw it in me.
Okay.
I had a great facade. But I saw it in other people. And I go, "Mate, are you okay?"
So what were the coping mechanisms for that? Was it drinking? Was there a lot of...
That drinking culture in the fire brigade was massive when I joined. We drank at the station. We used to drink on shift. Didn't matter whatever station with. Sometimes you'd be drinking with the cops.
How'd you do with the cops?
With the cops, yeah. We used to drink with the cops.
How'd you do your job? How?
It's weird.
Was it a thing? Nobody tested you? Did anyone care?
Never tested.
As long as you did the work.
As long as you could do your job. And speaking about it now, there was never any mishaps. It's weird that, you wouldn't, there's guys that used to get smashed, but, they just wouldn't turn out, especially in the big stations. In the big stations where there's lots of guys, just go leave him in bed, mate. He's useless. But, I'd never gotten, I might have got smashed a couple of times when I was on light duties in town, in headquarters. But, you weren't turning out. You were just on the phones and on the radios. But you went into mode. Even now, when I do medic stuff, for rugby or whatever. I think I told you when we spoke last time, one of the kids got hurt at rugby last year down at Sydney Uni. And I went straight into mode. I'm just the manager there. I'm not the medic when I'm with Colts, but my medic brain jumps straight in.
Yeah.
I'm having a flashback. You medic, you just straight into mode, and that's the same with you've had a few beers or whatever, but you still go straight into mode. It's like your brain goes into the job you need to do. Because
of all the training, all the repetition.
Yeah, it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
Look, and that culture had to go.
Because I think there were some studies done years and years ago where drunk drivers were actually
less injured.
Older drunk drivers were okay on the road because they had been used. They
doing over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
And they were quite safe because although they were drunk, younger drivers know.
Yeah.
Older drivers who'd been doing it for years.
They're not looking. They're not worried.
Yeah.
Younger drivers are looking for the cops. Oh shit! I'm going to get pulled over and get done.
Or they're just not used to it. You know, driving while drunk.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the other thing. The amount of motor vehicle accidents I went to where drunk drivers are sitting on the side of the road without a scratch.
Really?
And the innocent person is trapped in the car, and you just want to grab them and flog them. Because that's the thing. I never, as after I joined the fire brigade, and it might have been, but
yeah. Look, I did tell you my brother was a firefighter, and he said the most horrendous things were car crashes.
Yes.
And sweeping.
Yes. And hose and bits.
Yeah.
And the smells. Especially car crashes with if there was a drunk driver that was killed and they were traumatically, busted open and blood and everything coming out, you could smell the alcohol.
Really?
Out of the blood. You could smell the alcohol coming out of their blood. So yeah, that's what, as I say, that's what put me over was motor vehicle accidents. But yeah, just quickly going back to the culture of drinking in the fireys, it was a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
As I say,
only you know that now in hindsight.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. At the time I thought, this is pretty young. I'm sitting there drinking beer, watching TV going, how good's this? This is a job. I'm getting paid for this. How good's this? But eventually you realise that it had to stop. And it did stop. And it was stamped out pretty quickly. There was a lot of guys that were alcoholics that found it hard. And they're alcoholics because they're dealing with traumatic incidents. It was hard for them. A lot of guys retired because they couldn't drink. We dealt with a guy when I was stationed in Newtown who was an absolute drunk, and we weren't copping it. That's when I was with my best mate Scotty Needham, who I grew up with. We went to school together. We grew up in the same street, Franklin Street at Matcherville. Grew up together. We're still best mates now. I see him every week. He lives up here now with us. I'm his daughter's godfather. So myself and him and another guy, Gary Jones. We had a guy who was an absolute drunk, and we said, mate, we're not copping it. They transferred him to our station knowing that we weren't going to cop it. And we said, we're not going to cop it. It ain't going to happen. I like a beer. So, mate, you don't like a beer. You can't live without a beer. And eventually, it took a time. We called one of the senior officers to come in, and he did nothing. He said, oh, mate, you do it and I'll back you. We did it, and he didn't back us.
Why didn't he?
Because P-Hart. He was a P-Hart. He just didn't want to look like the bad guy. I don't want to. But eventually, because my uncle was in the job for 40 years. So eventually between my uncle and a couple other guys, they went, mate, you're done. You're off the trucks. You either get off the trucks or you find somewhere. And he went somewhere else in the fire brigade where he wasn't operational. But off the drink, he was a great bloke, really good bloke. On the drink, he was an absolute pig of a man. And we didn't copy shit. Like him and I had a stand-up ding-dong one time, and I walked straight up the chest to chest, and he goes, and he started shaking. He goes, mate, I'm 50 years old. You'll kill me. I said, well, start acting like it then. It was just stay out of my way. Let me do my job. But yeah, eventually, it's sad that they didn't help him. They just moved him. And that's the thing in the fire brigade back then. They moved the problem. Or another mate of mine, really good mate of mine, brought an analogy up in the fire brigade. He said, think of the fire brigade as a pristine lawn, beautiful, pristine lawn, and a weed pops up in the middle of that lawn. The fire brigade poisons the lawn and leaves the weed there. I was like, yes. Yeah. Move everyone else and leave the shit there. But with this one, they moved the guy, and we got a really good SO after that. But again, didn't get help.
So how long were you in the
fireys?
Yeah,
24 years.
That's a long time. That's actually a lot of trauma.
Yeah, it is. 24 years, 2 months, and 20 days.
Jeez.
It is.
So what made you eventually leave?
Well, so again, I put the claim in 2005. And so the original insurers we had, the two we had, and I won't mention their names because the companies are still running. They were shit. They did not care about the injured worker. They cared about you getting back to work, so they weren't paying the bills anymore. So when you're at work, the fire brigade's paying your wages. When you're off on workers' comp, the insurance company's paying your wages. And all they cared about was getting you back to work. They didn't care about anything else. EML cares about getting you back to work because they want you to be well. And we had a forum one time, myself, Mark Black, and another guy, Gareth Wells. We went down to chat to the EML. Then when they first took over, about maybe 18 months, 2 years after they took over as the insurer. And they said, would you mind coming down and having a chat with these caseworkers? No, happy days. So we're sitting there and we're chatting, and they're asking questions. And one lady said, can I ask a question? I said, yeah, of course you can. I'm not running the show. Mark Black looks at me and goes, as if you're not. Anyway. And I said, yeah, what's that? And she said, why are fireys so combative when we call them to offer them help? I said, you have to remember we were dealing with these other two companies that I won't say their names, who were just shit. They didn't care about us. They didn't care about fireys. They cared about getting the fire back to work so they weren't paying the bills. So there's a guy right at the back of the room. It's only a small room. It's probably about 60 people in there. And guy at the back of the room puts his hand up, and I went, yes, sir, like I was running the show. He said, do you mind if I say something? I said, mate, I'm not running the show. And he said, I'm such and such. And he was the guy that was running the section at the time. And I said, yeah. And he goes, everyone in here that's a caseworker, it's their job to save money. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting well, we're not saving anything. So we need to spend the money to get you well. And then that's the only time. The thing about Employees Mutual is they're a non-profit company. So they don't have shareholders. All the money that they get from the premiums goes back into treatment or investing in treatment. They pay for. There's a fire brigade retreat up at Colnura, and it's paid for by EML, completely paid for. So every couple of months, 10 fireys with some kind of workers' comp claim, whether be it a physical or mental injury, they go up there and EML pays for it, and you do yoga and meditation and exercise and ice baths. Oh, not good.
I thought you were going to say they're the best.
No, they're not. I do them. I do them because it takes me out of my comfort zone. But and the guy running the queue, and he just loves it. He loves it when I'm in pain. I can see his face. He's like, "Yeah, go shut up." Yeah,
is like I think I would describe you as somebody who gives back to the community.
After our chat at the club the other week, I've always, you always say, "What's your purpose in life?" And I go, "I got no idea." Like I'm pretty sure now after that and other things I've done over the last few months, I'm pretty sure that I was put on the earth to protect people.
You seem like that. You seem like a giver.
Yeah, I am.
Especially with what you do.
Yeah.
That I know that you do with your fundraising.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. But it's funny. I thought to myself, and I still have guilt over the way I treated Kathy and Daniel when I was with them. That's my son, our son.
Yeah.
When I was deep in my dark hole of PTSD, and people go, "Oh, but you can't." Yeah, but I can't not get rid of that. And it doesn't matter how much therapy I have. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get rid of that guilt. Because saying that I was put on this earth to protect people, to put myself between people in danger, which I still do. Subconsciously I can't help doing that. But I didn't protect them, and that really hurts. And people, I had a psychologist say, "Protect them from what?" I said, "Protect them from me." And he's like, "Yeah, but you don't know you're doing it at the time." I said, that doesn't make it right. So, that's something I got to deal with, and very hard to not feel guilty about it.
Are they aware of that? Is your son aware of that?
Yeah. I think they're both very aware of it, but it doesn't make it easier for them either.
No. So you became a medic.
Yeah. So in the fireys you do first aid, and I'm, even before that, anytime someone was hurt, I'm always the first one there jumping in to help. I was first aid trained when I was 12 or something. When I was
was there a moment when you just couldn't take care of someone?
No, never. No, it's never been like that. I always go into mode. Even when I was in my deepest, darkest hole in my PTSD, I go into mode, whether it be at home or at work. Daniel's had a few cuts on his feet, and he cut the back of his foot open one time, really bad, and the blood on the screen door. When you walk in the screen door, pull the screen door shut, and it was a really bad cut. And he looked at it and went, "Mate, it's okay." I put my hand straight over it. I went straight into mode.
Yeah.
I wrapped it up. I said, "It's okay, mate. Look, I'm going to take you to hospital. We'll go to hospital." Kathy was working, I think, and eventually called her and went to hospital. And the nurse who was treating him was a Pommy. And I said, "Is that a British accent?" And she goes, "Yeah, it is." I went, smashed in the ashes. And it was good because she started talking to Daniel about cricket, and that calmed him down. But it's the same thing. I was in mode. I didn't panic. I didn't. I don't, for some reason, I don't panic in those sort of situations. Because I have control.
Yeah.
I feel I'm in control. I mean, I think I said to you at the club, the only time in my life, even now, and talk to your brother, he'll probably tell you the same thing. The only time I felt in complete control of my life is in a burning building.
Yeah,
I'm in a fire, chaos around me, and I'm in control. It just calm. The adrenaline would have my heart rate going 10 of the dozen, but the calmness was just, even when stuff was falling down, I was like, okay. I had a roof collapse on me and I was laughing. It was like, and
did you have a fatalistic attitude, perhaps?
Yeah, things happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
things happen. And as I said to you, at the club, I was never afraid of dying. Still not.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, like, and
Yeah.
you know, if I die, I'm dead.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know whether there is an afterlife, but if there is, I'm coming back to haunt every single one of you.
Let's talk about your fundraisers
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yep.
You were brought to my attention because of rugby
Yeah.
and the fundraising.
Yep.
You did.
Yeah. Well, like with the fundraising at rugby, we did because I've always been a fundraiser. I started fundraising when I was about 10. So at school, one of the teachers, Mr. Gresley, he was a big, angry looking man.
Mm.
And I got detention one time and I was staying back. I think I was in year 4 or 5. I was only a kid, really little. And he, you know, usually when you're on your mum's got to come pick you up. So next thing, he's dropped me home. And my mum's come out and she's like, "What?" And he went, "Oh, hey, Mrs. McLean, here you go. I'm just bringing Billy home, as you know, he had detention." She's like, "Yeah." I had him wrapped around my finger. Like I had him wrapped around my little finger. He was like, because I sat there at detention, started talking about stuff and, how concerned, because my mum had rheumatic fever when she was a kid. So I had a double valve replacement. And I said, talking about that. And I just was talking about stuff and
Yeah.
how, I think it was sad that there wasn't enough money that were put into the heart. He goes, "We can do fundraising." I went, "Okay." He said, "Well, you know what we'll do? We'll start the class collecting newspapers and cans and stuff, and we'll take them in. And at the end of the year, however much we make." So I raised the most money out of the whole class. And because I raised the most money, I was allowed to choose where it went. All the money went to. And I said, "Well, the Heart Foundation. 100%. It's got to go to the Heart Foundation." That's what my mum. So that was, and, so he's the one that started me on it, but it was more me trying to get him around my finger and get out of the shit. And any time I did detention after that, he'd go, "Now listen, we're doing detention this afternoon, right? So you're not," because I think you can pick, I was a bit of a dead shit of a kid, like just full of beans and always cheeky and saying the wrong thing, getting in trouble. And we'd have detention. He'd drop me home. My mum's like, she asked the school to to put me in his class because he was the tough teacher.
Yeah.
To give me more discipline. Neck minute. We're best mates, and so and it just went on from there. Eventually, when I got in the fireys, I was stationed at Glebe, so I started at Alexandria, went to the Rocks, and then I went to Glebe. And at Glebe, we were right near Camperdown Children's Hospital, which that's where the burns unit was. And the burns unit, for people who don't know, the burns unit is actually designated number 2 fire station. So number 1 fire station is headquarters. Well, they call it City of Sydney now. Number 2 fire station is Westmead Children's Hospital Burns Unit.
All right.
Which they call the club ward now. And so we used to go there all the time. And I used to say to my boss, Chris Windsor, it was his 70th birthday yesterday, if he'd been alive, passed away not long ago, grabbed champion bloke. I used to say to him, "Can we go to the Burns Unit?" "Yeah, righto." So we'd go, get in the trucks. Another bloke's be like, "Oh my God, like we have to go there all." "Yeah, we do have to go there." There's kids. They're little kids. They want to see. And we hadn't had any kids at the time. So we used to go all the time. See the kids, and just go in and make them smile.
Yeah. And
so then another fiery was running the touch footy day. A guy named Freddie Freedywald. We used to have there around the border police and started down at Glebe, and eventually he got transferred, so I took it over, and I ran the touch footy day for 19 years. Eventually moved. So when I got transferred to Newtown, I moved it to Camperdown, which isn't that far. And then when I moved up here, when I transferred the Yamina, I moved it up here. But I went to the Burns Unit one time to present a check, and I didn't like doing that. I just wanted to send them the checks, send them the money, and then that's it. I don't want. But they said, "Oh, look, we'd like you to come in. We want to do a photo shoot." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So I got in my uniform, went in, and then they said, "Oh, can you come and talk to some of the kids?" I went, "Yeah, no worries." And went round, and there was one kid was burnt from head to toe, pretty much. You could see his eyes. you know, his face was sort of there. His nose, his face, his eyes, his hands were pretty much wrapped. You could see his fingers. Really,
Sorry, how did he get burnt?
It was a fire. He got fire.
House fire.
I don't know if he was covered in petrol or it was a house fire. It was something pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
Something pretty horrendous. So I'm chatting with him and I go, hey, mate, how you going? You know, and he's just nothing really, you know. I'm trying to make him laugh. And every now and then you'd see sort of little tiny smirk of a smile. And then I was like, okay, mate, I got to get going, mate. And he's just sort of nodded. And the nurse looked at me as if to say thanks. I went, yeah, I'm just trying. And I got up and I started to walk out. And then he goes, hey, Billy. I was like, oh. I turned around and looked at him. I said, yeah, mate. And he goes, thank you.
No.
I started crying. I said, it's all good, mate. I turned and walked. I was crying. She goes, oh, my God, that was beautiful. I'm going, did he have to do that? Like, you know.
It was.
Yeah.
So how long have you lived up here on the coast?
95 we moved up.
Oh, that's quite.
Yeah,
some
been
time,
up here,
yeah.
30 years, yeah, been up a long time.
Is that when you got involved in rugby up here?
Well, I was involved in rugby in Sydney, but yeah, I got involved with rugby when Daniel was born. So Daniel, as I said, born in 99, he started playing in 2007.
In particular, Woy Woy.
Yeah, Woy Woy Lions, yeah. So, he started playing in 2007 and scored a try in his first game. And yeah, it was. So he was playing, and a mate of mine coached. Craig Harding was the coach, another champion bloke, another tragic Eels supporter, like me. And he's the engineer that thinks they're better than pioneers, but they're not engineers.
Oh, don't engineers think that anyway?
Oh, they think
no matter.
Yeah, they do. But he knows
where they work.
Yeah, he knows he's not though. You know, yeah, that's right. No matter where they're
what industry they're in.
Yeah. I love that thing. You see Roman roads built by Romans 500 years ago, and engineers got involved and they found potholes. It's great. So he was coaching them, and then his son moved up a year because Daniel played a year above his age.
Yeah.
And so Craig moved up a year with his son, and then there was no one to coach, so I took over coaching.
So it's a very different landscape back in 95, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, 2000. When 2007 he started. Central Coast was different back in 95. Yeah, it was a lot slower. Yeah, it was. There was no traffic lights on the peninsula. There was no traffic lights around there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And that roundabout that near the railway station, which has now got traffic lights, that was a roundabout that used to fill with water every time it flooded. It just, I got a couple of mates, Sean Waits and a mate of mine. He was supposed to be home for dinner. He was living at home at the time, and the high tide came up and he couldn't get out of the Bayview Hotel. Called his mum and he's gone, Mum, I can't get out. She goes, Sean, you get it. He goes, I can't get out. He's like,
swim if you have to.
He wasn't upset because he could have 44 more schooners, but he was, it's changed a lot. Central Coast has changed a lot, in that time.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, my pleasure, and thanks very much for having me.
Okay. We can still talk. We'll just edit it.
Yeah, no, all good. Thank you. Isn't the producer meant to make cups of tea? It's been very. I mean, yours has gone cold.